Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of the Meta Chasers, talking about Warhammer 40k tournaments coming up over the weekend. This is your hype show. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
G'day, everybody.
And Dustin Henshaw.
Hello, everybody.
You heard that right. The events are back. We're back. Second big show of the year. Second big round of tournaments coming up this weekend. We got one from the home of Warhammer we're going to talk about, or at least the home city of Warhammer, Super Major in Nottingham. And we've also going to talk about the New Year's Knockout. But before we would do that, I want to do a shout out to an event happening in basically your backyard, Dustin.
That's right. The Critical Hit Grand Clash is going to be happening in Cordes, Ontario here with 30 players, 5 rounds. It is a smaller event, but this is a venue that has actually been trying to get back into the tournament scene after struggling for a little while to do this. So we wanted to give them a shout out because number one, they're patrons, they're valued followers of this show, and we always love people that do that, like all of you here that are with us live and everybody listening after the fact. And we love to see the fact these guys are actually growing again. I'm so happy they reached out, that they're actually getting their scene growing. We held the local league championships there not too long ago, so it felt good to see them growing again. So we want to give them a shout out. Happy to see you back at the scene, guys, and we hope the event goes well for you.
Thanks for letting us know what you got going on.
We're churning towards the end of the season, as we would traditionally have it, the end of the that ITC year, and it's ramping up. We have Super Majors happening in the UK. There's about to be the one in Australia at the same weekend as the LVO, and of course the LVO. So next weekend is going to be absolutely stacked. We're going to have Uprising and LVO being the 2 events being covered, and it should be a phenomenal episode. But I mean, the Nottingham Super Major is happening this weekend, so that anybody who wants to go to the LVO can jump on a plane and jump over the ditch and get there too. And this is an absolutely stacked and very, very, very deep event.
You were talking about the end of the season, people competing for best in factions and things like that, basically the bragging rights for all their effort over the last year or so of going to tournaments. And also, you mentioned that, that we just talked about a smaller tournament. Like, this stuff is happening all over the world every weekend. And so if you're curious about how to play this event or play this game in a series of events like this, now's the best time to jump in because everyone's really excited about it. The first one we're going to be talking about is the Nottingham Super Major. 346 players, 7-round event. It is in England, in Nottingham, if that part wasn't apparent. I'm curious how this meta is going to break down. Dustin, what are we going to see there?
The joke, Paul, would have been to just say it's in London, mate.
It's in London. Swing and a miss.
That's fine.
We'll have to give a trivia question of who remembers when that started. When did that? We do our best not to do inside jokes. Like, if it's funny, we're going to explain it or whatever. But that is so old at this point in time. It's like,
it is.
Does anyone really remember where that spawned from? Our increasingly miserable attempt at geography.
Yes.
Our attempt at geography might be bad, but the distance guessing from you has been pretty spot on for the most part.
Mate.
Before we get started, I want to talk about, we actually do this live. So welcome to everyone in the live chat that is hanging out with us. Love seeing y'all. Hope y'all are doing all right today. If you listen to us after the fact, know that you can come and hang out with us live each and every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Not only hanging out with us, but the fine people and everybody in the chat as well.
Absolutely.
So now, what are we going to see there?
So let's have a look. Now that we've gone through all that, what are we going to see at this massive Super Major, the first of the year? We are going to be seeing in the Imperial Super Faction, there are 10 Sisters of Battle, 13 Custodes, 7 AdMech, 15 Astra Militarum, 10 Grey Knights, and 5 Imperial Knights. Space Marines, there's 26 Adeptus Astartes, 17 Dark Angels, 5 Space Wolves, 11 Blood Angels, 1 Death Watch, and 8 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 18 Chaos Space Marines, 10 T-Suns, 17 Death Guard, 22 World Eaters, 7 Demons, and 14 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 34 Necrons, 15 Orcs, 13 Tau, and 10 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 19 Tyranids. And again, the one Gene Stealer cult player that just plays every event ever that we cover here. The token
4,000 players at this event. One Gene Stealer cult.
One. That's it. It's the quota. It's the minimum. It cannot be exceeded. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the decimal point that gets carried.
It is. It's true. All right. It is the token G-Star cult player. That's what it's become.
Dustin is overnighting his army to the UK.
Yeah.
No, I don't have to, man. I have enough. I can field the same army 5 times over. I have done it several times.
You got a problem there, mate.
Yeah,
I think you might be a wargamer.
I might be a wargamer. And
I'll be a
finally, the
dedicated
Eldari
fan.
with 6 Drukhari and 34 Eldari, meaning the faction podium is Necrons and Eldari, tied in first with 34. Astartes in second with 26. World Leaders in third with 22. Tyranids in fourth with 19. And then Chaos Space Marines all the way down in fifth with 18. Huh.
Yeah, so much reduced on the Chaos Space Marine front than I would have expected. I would have expected them in a podium finish, but top 5 is
Well,
still pretty
the
on
thing
par.
is, too, between Chaos Space Marines and Eldari, which in my opinion, they're still like the top 2 armies in the game
Yeah.
right now. I feel like Chaos Space Marines have more solid
ahead.
game than
Yeah.
Eldari do. So
Yep.
the fact that they're half as many as the Eldari, but I guess Eldari is more of a common army that people own, maybe.
Speaking to the Necron numbers, we are assuming that the change that just came in is not in effect.
Yeah, we're
this
assuming.
event,
So.
seeing as it came in yesterday, and these lists have been live for a week already. I
Yeah.
think it's probably
Most
safe to say.
events, and now look, every organizer, I fully support them doing their own thing, whatever is right for their people and their attendees and their events. But most organizers will not allow the week of army list changes. They'll sometimes allow rules clarifications, but not things that radically change like points or effects of armies or whatever, especially if those lists have already been submitted. But that is a choice of those event organizers, not like there's a super standard that everyone must adhere to, but that is often the choice they make.
Exactly right. World Eaters being taken in droves here also.
Yeah.
I assume that is a meta pick. Either it's a meta pick in contention to, just putting the pressure on the Eldar and or being a contender to, into the Necron matchup, which I do think is not a bad take. World Eaters into Necrons I hear is not too rough, and they generally don't have great answers for a lot of the smaller units. And even Angron coming back 2 or 3 times can be a huge issue for them.
World Eaters have been good for the last 6 months or so. I mean, they've really been on people's minds, and there's just what they can do on the tabletop and how quickly they can get across the table almost better than anyone else.
Yeah, absolutely agree. They play probably the best or second best pressure game in the game at the moment. I think only Chaos Knights are a contender for something of an equivalent. Tyranids making our top 5 here is unexpected in my mind. But Dustin, you're our hive mind expert. What's going on there? Would they be just good for the terrain or good into this meta? What do you think? What's your thoughts?
I feel like Tyranids are actually one of those armies that is just consistent. If you take something like Synaptic or Invasion Fleet, actually in Endless Swarm is becoming a little bit more popular now too, which again is another consistent point scorer. So it's harder. They're really good singles lists. I would actually say that Tyranids right now are in a better spot in singles than they are in teams, because they
really
they will rarely win games big, but they will win games. Which actually, you know what? I take it back, because that's good. You want some of those in the team too, because they will be able to play most things and just get points. So they're good in both.
How many Norns we got?
I mean, yeah. Like I've tried all the major ones. Like I've actually fallen out of love with Vanguard. I've more into the Endless Swarm, Synaptic, and Invasion Fleet right now. They're just more consistent in terms of what they can, and they have less bad matchups. Endless Swarm is one of those lists that if you find one specific army that can get, if they can kill 60 gaunts in one turn, you're in trouble. Any less than that though, you're fine. Like it's crazy.
Yeah,
that's the time to clinch, or when you change your plan. 61 gaunts were killed. Like
yeah, like okay.
I'm just gonna. So I was asked what detachment is most of them taking. I've just jumped into BCP myself. I'm just gonna open the first 6 lists. So we've got a Vanguard, we've got an Invasion, we have a Synaptic Nexus, we have a Synaptic Nexus, we have an Unending Swarm, we have a Vanguard, and we have a Synaptic Nexus. So Synaptic Nexus was 3 out of the 6. So if that's consistent for the 20, probably isn't. But hey, we're going to use this anecdotal data and just say it's definitive.
That was my pick from the start. I started, I dabbled in Tyranids building some to destroy my friend's Ultramarine army, and that was like going with Synaptic Nexus.
Yeah, Synaptic Nexus, it's a very consistent one. I think the Synaptic Nexus is the highest damage one. Invasion Fleet close behind that, but Invasion Fleet actually has a good dichotomy between the Endless Swarm and the Synaptic Nexus. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's depending. It's a pick your flavor. Honestly, the Tyranid Codex it's nice. I like it.
It's nice. All right, let's jump into some of the top players in attendance, and we have some of the top ranked players in the world in attendance right now. First and foremost is the current ranked number 1 in the world, Manny Chima. And at this time of the year, we usually shift from interesting lists and just kind of zero in on the top ranked people go, in the last month of the conventional tournament season. So ranked number 1 in the world, definitely going to be looking at what he is doing. Berserker Warband playing World Eater. So a bit of a shift for Manny. He's been playing Chaos Space Marines pretty heavily the last couple of months. So World Eaters, Berserker Warband, Angron, Khan the Betrayer, Master of Executions with the Berserker Glaive, because you would never not take. He's probably the best value single.
So good. Hide him in a unit, blend everything up. It's all good times, yeah.
You just can't go near him. 2 units of 10 Jackals, 2 units of 10 Berserkers, of course, 1 for each Khan and the Master of Executions in 2 Rhinos. And then 3 units of 3 8-bound and 2 units of 3 Exalted 8-bound. A lot of the time, there's a debate whether the second Rhino and the second unit of Jackals is worth it. You almost always see 1 unit of Jackals and then at least 1 unit of Berserkers for the Master of Executions. I have seen some people take 5 Berserkers just as the delivery for Khan to go, especially into Space Marines, that unit still kind of threatens everything in their army. But it's also, not the massive points investment. The 3 into 3 8-bound, pretty ubiquitous, has eschewed the big unit of Exalted 8-bound. Naturally, I think that's where the points have come in, is it extra Zerkers, or do I trim a couple of things and the second Rhino to get the big unit of 6 Exalted, which have been seen to, if you are good, that unit is a world ender. Like that, it's just absolutely floors people.
Eater.
Where's the snare drum? Where is it? We need a button. We need a button for the punchlines. But if not, it is a hell of a lot of points that just get picked up because it hasn't got a gun. So if you just play, if you can corral it or play keep away enough, it just kind of doesn't do anything for the points.
I'm digging it. It could be aggressive.
So really good.
This is a very aggro list.
Far from yeah, very aggro. It doesn't need to be, which is the thing I find is some of the differences with I guess World Eaters players that go 5-0, 6-0, 5-1, 4-1, and the ones that, did I go first? Did I not go first? Whereas because you just make it to the middle of the table and you're like, well, you can't come forward or else you get killed, and if I stay here, I win. So and you just put them in the rock in the hard place.
That's kind of the plan with these, but then you got Angron. I guess everything in this unit, everything his army does just touch things and then destroys it. But Angron can be particularly tricky because it's like, do I kill him now? Do I kill him later? Do I ever kill him?
Yeah.
Is he coming back? Kind of thing.
So, correct. And I mean, I've watched games where Angron just came back, like died on turn 1, came back on turn 3, died on turn 3, came back on turn 4, and that was it. The Angron just ran absolutely roughshod. He's like, well, what about this time?
Yeah.
So that time didn't work. What about this time? Oh, that one didn't work either. But wait, there's the steak knives. What about this time? Yeah.
Turns out respawning Primarchs is pretty good.
Sometimes it can be good, right? It can be good.
Well, he's only got 16 wounds. He's
he's a sissy.
And
he's a sissy.
Yeah, he is a sissy. We all know that.
You know what he has at 16 wounds, Adam? You know what we have at 16 wounds?
Nothing.
Not a dang thing.
You got 16 models.
4 aberrants.
Yeah. 4 aberrants.
16 single wound models, which at times is better. The second top player in attendance.
KR saying, look, he's not winning with it. It's
calling the shot. Manny, you're saying Manny won't win with this list? Fair. Well, I do think so. I have I'm going to try and not swear, but I have this saying that I have for World Eaters, which is they have Estebeditis, and that one round out of a big event, you might just roll snakes on 2 charges in the game, and that could just be enough of a blowout that you lose by 5 points.
Completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. But we've seen players go all the way with the World Eaters as often as we've seen them go. I mean, with anything other than the top 2 list. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly, like after Chaos Space Marines and Eldari, there's a wide open lane of what army can slide into that, and oftentimes are frequently enough for us to remember it and talk about it is World Eaters. And that's one of the things. It's like these players and some of the players we talk about, and of course some of the wins. Yeah, you want great dice. But they figure out how to capitalize and win without needing the great dice. But you're exactly right, though. The World Eaters do rely on that one of the what could be the most disappointing phases of the game And that
That's
is
it,
that
man.
charge phase.
That's true.
That's it.
But the thing
It
is, too,
happens.
7 rounds. There's a good chance
Yeah.
that can happen because when you don't have
Ooh,
any shooting to back it up, the charge phase is your live
Make
and
or
die
break.
phase sometimes. Like,
Yep.
so
Yep. And I've seen people wield that against World Edition players, being like, well,
Yep.
I'm going to give you nothing but 7-inch charges for your whole game. And
Mhm.
one turn of the game, you might just get unders and the game's over. And it can just be a rough place to be, which is why staging in the middle and just being like,
Yes.
I will kill you if you try me is I
Absolutely.
think the better default to start from.
absolutely.
But anyway, let's go into that.
Next
that
list we
one.
have come up here. Nassim Fouchain, Astra Militarum, number
Oh.
2 in the ITC right now.
Yes, right. So we got number 1 and number 2 in the world at this event. He's got his combined regiment detachment, Lord Solar, a platoon command squad with Kuros Aquila, 2 tank commanders, both of which are demolishers, of course, because they are absolutely crazy good. Ursula Creed, 10 Catachans, 10 Death Corps of Krieg infantry, 2 units of 6 Bulgren, 3 units of 10 Kassakin, notably without a transport, 3 Manticores, and 2 single Scout Sentinels. Now, the Kassakin have been the keys. The Kassakin and the Bulgren have been the keys that have changed the metrics for the Astra Militarum. They've taken them from an army that couldn't play certain missions because they just couldn't have any strength existing in the middle of the table to being an army that can now kind of start to mix it up. And we've seen this evolution. I mean, when Astra Militarum first came out, it was like, okay, I'm going to blow you up in 2 turns with my indirect, or I'm going to lose the game. And now the Astra Militarum players have evolved over time, and I think they're starting to really get stuck into what this index can provide. What do you guys make of this list?
Finding that right balance is very difficult, especially when you have access to such cool toys in the Astra Militariums. Like, I'd like to take all of the destruct missiles. I mean, obviously that's not but you know what I mean? Like, you want to take, so this makes my indirect fire stronger. This is a bunch of stronger indirect fire. That's the package. Oh crap, I've only got 30 points left, and so players and like this one here are figuring out ways to I guess trim back some of that impressive long range firepower to put more point scoring mechanisms into their list, and it seems like this is a nice balance.
Yeah, I've got a similar list to this in my army builder at the moment. Notably, I've got 1 Chimera in here. I think I've got 6 and 3 Bulgrins, and that's how I think, and some other trims. I got the Chimera in because I always just feel like the Kassakin need at least 1 transport to get 1 unit up early. But obviously, I'm probably wrong because Nassim's number 2 in the world, and I'm Mr. Nobody over here.
Chimeras
so definitely, I think he's on
firing
it.
deck. So I mean, they can shoot a couple.
Yeah, that's true.
At the top. But the real tech in here is actually like they've got some really good anti-world eater tech that. Like, do you know what I'm talking about here? Do you know the trick, guys?
Lay it on us, mate.
I'm about to drop some knowledge on you guys if you don't know how this works, because this is actually really, really good tech for anything that works on the transports with Kassakin. Because the Kassakin melt-to-mine, how it works, right?
Yes.
So it's the beginning of any phase that you can that you can huck this melt-to-mine and do some mortal wounds. So if you put, say, a rhino down to a couple wounds with your out of line of sight shooting or some of the guns, whatever, and then leave some Kassakin in range of the melt-to-mine, their movement phase starts. You blow up that rhino, those guys inside can't charge.
Yep.
Now they're in the open.
Correct. They disembarked.
They cannot charge.
They cannot charge. It is such a funky, fresh thing because I'm reading it right now. I literally got the page up because I wanted to read this out to people. Once per battle, at the start of any phase, not any of your phases.
Yeah,
any phase,
the Space Marine melt-to-mine works the same way too. By the way, the one from the infiltrators or incursors or whatever. It's start of any phase.
Yeah, and so it's just so much jank, on this little thing.
You can do
just
so many things
any
with that
phase.
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped in there. I just want to point out similar. If they're not a guard player, the Marines get this kind of thing too, and this wording around the start of any phase can be important and tricky. So that's why I wanted to point out that it's not just these guys to have it.
Yeah, it is a very very strong ability. You can do some serious jank with it.
Yeah, I do love the Kassakin. They did get, so a lot of people thought they got a bit nerfed because a lot of their guns that used to be AP2 are now AP1. But I still think they are an extremely good unit for the guard player. They are absolutely crazy good.
The only
Scout 6 as well.
Ballistic 3. Let's
Yeah,
go through.
correct.
But you know what I'm talking about.
There's no veterans anymore.
Yeah.
Because it used to be we could just be like, well, veterans can take the same amount of special weapons, and they've just got one. They're way cheaper with one less armor save. Essentially, was the difference. But now Kaskin are essentially the veterans, and they are very necessary.
Very
digging it.
All right.
Next
we
list
have
is a Dark Angel list.
Yes, one more list to break down because we had 3 players in the top 5 of the ITC, so naturally I had to do all 3 of those, of course. Inez Wilson, ranked 5th, like I just said, playing Dark Angels. This list is spicy, boys. He's got an Ironstorm Spearhead with Azrael, 2 Tech Marines, one with the Target Augury Web, and one with Adept of the Omnissiah. He's got a Talon Master with Master of Machine War, which I'll unpack in a moment. He's got a unit of Company Heroes to go with Azrael and be extremely durable. 3 Redemptor Dreads. He's got max Redemptor Dreads. He's got a Storm Raven, and I put that in capitals just so you made sure you remember that's in here. He's got a Thunderstrike Storm Speeder. He's got a single Whirlwind. Usually you'd see 2 or 3 in an Ironstorm. 3 Inceptors, 2x3 Scouts, a Calidus Assassin, and a unit of Inquisitorial Henchmen. What are you seeing here, gents?
I mean, beyond the obvious Storm Raven.
I'm not seeing the Lion. I don't know.
It's true. You won't be. I'm seeing a man who's lost his mind. No, it's fine. This list is quite spicy for a couple of different reasons. Let me quickly go to the Talon Master combo is actually kind of sick. So Master of Machine War is what he's got on his Talon Master. When a friendly Adeptus start his vehicle unit within 6 of the bearer is eligible to shoot, even though if it advanced or fell back. So he's got that on his Talon Master. So that is to be, I suppose, to be tag teaming, running around with the Redemptors. So the Redemptors become a very mobile firebase, whereas they can be quite slow. And,
so you can put them up there in like potential harm's way or whatever, and use them as a forward piece and not worry about them being locked down. Okay.
And then the Talon Master gets lone operative. Sorry, no, I think it has to be a mounted or fly model. I think for him to get lone up. I'll quickly double check that, so I'm not speaking out of turn, but I believe that is the case. But
fly model is a Storm Raven.
Yeah, it turns out it is Storm Raven. I actually had this wrong in my head. I actually had it another way around for how I was predicting this. But Adeptus start is mounted or fly vehicles within 6 of this model have ignores cover, so it can definitely be given that to the Storm Raven. And whilst this model is in 3 of 1 or more Adeptus started mounted or fly vehicles, it has the lone operative ability. So yeah, it can definitely run around with the Storm Raven and be untargetable. And then once per turn, when an enemy unit ends a normal, advanced, or fallback move within 9 of this model, this guy gets to bug out 6 inches. So if you do try and close with the Talon Master, it does just leave.
So that's interesting. I envision you fly the Storm Raven up, it's whatever movement that you need it to have to
essentially
to give the range between the Talon Master, and then the max move from the Redemptors are going to put them up in range of the Talon Master also. So you've got this almost like a V formation, a reverse V, an arrow, spear tip.
Ducks fly together. Ducks fly together.
There we go.
Oof.
Crack.
Oof.
But this is a hot take from Inez. He's been playing some pretty wonky fun stuff, and I do think the Storm Raven is better than people think it is. I haven't actually tried it in the Ironstorm. I'm a wacky silly dude who's done it in the Stormlands because I can give it -1 to wound. But this is a pretty spicy take. I personally I do not like Redemptor Dreadnoughts. I think they've really disappointed me when I've taken them. I'm actually much preferring Gladiators of various
Really, the Redemptor Dreadnought are you not liking them specifically for Dark Angels?
Oh, just Space Marines in general.
Okay.
In general, yeah. I find I think they're 200 points. 40 points less gets you a Gladiator Lancer or Reaper, and I find I'd rather one of those over the Redemptor Dreads. I don't mind one Redemptor Dread because for 1 CP, you chuck it out on objective turn 1, use the Walker Strat, and it becomes really annoying for your opponent to try and kill. And then if they come out, try and kill it, don't kill it, you repair it, and then you respond with, in this list, Storm Ravens, Thunder Strikes, and go pick them up and win the trade war. Really cool, really interesting list by Innes. I'm excited to see how he does because I think Storm Ravens are a little underutilized, underloved. Also, want to tell you that one of those Redemptors could be on the back of the Storm Raven, and it could
chat pointed that out.
Deploy that into your grill, which it's absolutely hilarious, just like the Redemptor missile. I love the idea of that. Also, if you look at the logistics of the models, there's just no way that Storm Raven gets off the ground with a Redemptor on its back, right? There's just no way. But wibbly time.
That's actually the design aesthetic of the entire Space Marine force. It's like everything is a flying brick or a flying fist, actually.
Yeah.
and it's should never happen. But sheer force of the Imperium, it does happen.
It does indeed. But yeah, great list by Inez. Really excited to see how it does. He's stated at the top of his list that this was not going to win. That he does not believe this list is good enough to win. So I'm assuming that's because he just thinks he's going to lose to Chaos Space Marines or Eldar or something like that. But funnily enough, I don't hate this list into World Eaters because the -1 damage, the blanking of a single instance of damage as well, whilst it's not going to save you from Angron, those small units of 8-bound, like, just bounce off these guys.
That's true.
We have another list we're going to read. Typically, we don't read like 2 or 3 lists from affirmative event, but there's a lot of heavy hitters here at this
Well,
event.
this is the one I chucked in this one as the bonus for patrons who are going to get access to the show notes later. This is David Galar's list, who took an Awakened Dynasty. So he eschewed all the spiciness of the Necrons Codex and took the one from the Index. But if you want to get that one, jump into our show notes in our patrons.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that
get
up
the
because we had
privilege there.
questions like, "Where's our part 2s?" Part 2, we actually just recorded another one that will be out soon.
Yeah.
Probably the part 2 from last week will be out in the next 12 hours or so on the Patreon.
Literally, it'll be up in the 10 minutes after we close this off. So literally, after we're done here,
Even
your
better.
part 2 will be up over on the Patreon.
Fill the whole
but
night with meta chasing.
Speaking of the Patreon, if you like what we do, you should go over to Patreon, search Warhammer Meta Chasers, and sign up to one of the 3 delicious tiers for your eating pleasure. Whichever one tickles your fancy. If you do just love what we do, $3. Thank you very much. You're an absolute scholar. Part 2 is available for people in the 2nd tier, in addition to the show notes, and then part 3 you get to influence and ask questions of us. And if you're in that tier, if you're in that 3rd tier, we will, and you let us know you're going to be at a big event for that coming week, we will make sure we prioritize reviewing your list on our show as well.
Or your rivals list. We'll call out their list and tell you all the tricks, about how to be. And look, they're accommodating to all Patreon. Look, every tier is amazing. We certainly love that. This is the time where, we're sponsoring ourselves right now. Go and check us out on Patreon. It means a whole lot. But that if you're there, that tier that Adam was talking about, you get access to a second show where we recap, how we did, how our predictions were in the previous week. And speaking of predictions, now we've run through some of the top players. We've run through all the factions. We know it's a giant event. We know how the meta is, kind of in a kind of a state that we can understand right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
What action do we think is going to win this thing?
Who wants to take their first swing? Who's the leader? Okay,
Paul.
So we'll go from Paul. We'll go from bottom up on the points. Paul, you first.
All right. So going first here, big responsibility. Looking at the 68 Space Marines, but 82. Chaos Space. I'm still going with Chaos Space Marines.
So CSM for Paul. I'll go the Necrons. I back him to get a podium at a minimum at this event, and I'll be disappointed if none of you do. Dustin, what are your thoughts?
In terms of something that's going to podium, I am going to actually take some World Eaters.
Ooh, not a bad pick. I was wondering which one of us was going to do it. I was pretty sure one of us was. I was going to go there, but nah, went for the Necrons. Went for the numbers.
Numbers never lie.
No, sometimes the weight of math actually works. Next event we're going to talk about is the New Year Knockout from Kansas City, Missouri. That's here in the United States. 53 players, 5-round event. I've actually been to Kansas City a couple of times now with the US Open Series, and I dig that. There's lots of cool places around there to kind of hang out and chill.
There was a very stacked end of circuit event happening, I believe, in one of the Carolinas, but unfortunately they had 32 players, but it was an extremely stacked event. It was like a lot of the top players in the United States didn't have their list unlocked in time, so apologies if you were expecting that one.
Well, no, unlock the list. Have your organizer reach out to us and give us access to things or whatever. Like, we're happy to cover those things, and we work with basically any organizer that wants us to have information. We'll do what we can with it. Doesn't guarantee them. There's a list of things that get him on the show, kind of thing. Doesn't necessarily guarantee getting on the show, but providing information to us certainly does help the odds. That's for sure.
Absolutely, lighten the load.
What are we going to see at this New Year's Knockout?
we are going to be seeing in the Imperial Super Faction, there is 1 Custode, 1 Admech, 1 Astra Militarum, and 1 Imperial Knight. Space Marines, there's 6 Adeptus Astartes, 2 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, and 4 Black Templar. Chaos, there's 4 Chaos Space Marines, 3 T-Suns, 2 Death Guard, 1 World Leader, 4 Chaos Knights. Xenos, there's 9 Necrons, 1 Orc, 2 Tau, 4 Votan. Hive Mind, there's 2 Tyranids. Nope.
He couldn't make it. He had to go to Nottingham.
He had to go to Nottingham. Eldari, there's 3 Eldari. Meaning the faction podium is Necrons topping it off with 9. Astartes in second with 6, and then Votan, Chaos Knights, Chaos Space Marines, and Black Templars in third with 4 apiece. That is an interesting.
Yeah.
Necrons
it is an interesting spread.
They're topping up all the podiums right now in terms of representation.
Everyone dusted off their previous 9th edition starter boxes, like, it's time, let's go, and just racking them on up again, getting the dust off. It is interesting to see the kind of the internal balance shift quite a lot from what was being played for them in the previous edition to what is now. So codex to codex, I suppose, because it actually was quite a nice bridge between the 9th edition armies into the index armies, but now definitely the codex armies are quite a bit different. So it's probably refreshing for a lot of. I know it's refreshing for me. I don't have to worry about, can I kill 40 Necron warriors? Tick this box, yes or no. And now it's a bit more interplay on the table rather than just being like kind of reanimated out of the game. But it's definitely, the optics of the lists have changed. And while a lot of people out there are humming and hawing about, oh, the Canoptic's dead, Rays are still absolutely bonkers in that detachment. And you have an extremely good detachment that was getting kind of not looked at yet because the Canoptic was taking all the attention. The Hypercrypt Legion, which is one of the lists we're going to be breaking down for this event, is absolutely amazing and very rewarding to a player who's willing to put in a bunch of reps on it before their events. Yeah. For sure. Anyway, anything else to note on this one, gents? The faction breakdown. We've got a couple of missions.
I have nothing to say. I'm
disgusted, dejected.
Yeah. I think this is about what we'd expect. The standouts here, though, is with this number of players, is that Votan and Chaos Knights are there, but also the Black Templar. Like, we have seen a strong showing from Black Templar. We've even seen like lots of players working on like their second army, their side project being Black Templar, and to have them all be in that same rank there, I think is that part is interesting.
Absolutely. The internal Space Marine, I guess, metagame of which chapter is in Supremacy is always kind of an ever-evolving debate. And it's actually one of the main reasons we do a Space Marine faction breakdown as a Space Marines as a super faction, because it actually is an interesting thing to discuss and know about the game as it stands. Because Space Marines essentially can play almost whatever skew you want. Seeing which one people choose to take tells you a lot about how the game is being played. It's a very good analysis for what people are prioritizing. Are they prioritizing melee, damage, jank, whatever?
It's a little bit. It's like slightly shrouded though, because of the way the Chaos Space Marine Codex is written, which is written masterfully and beautifully, by the way, though. Because you have, it's so permissive now in our minds and in the book itself to take whatever chapter you want within the confines of that detachment. So that's I like that. And then but you're still finding some of these folks name some chapters here.
Yeah, exactly right. So just to break down the kind of where the Space Marine microcosm is at the moment, it's generally agreed upon that the best possible list you could make if you had unlimited time and practice is the Ultramarines Vanguard. That's the best possible list. If you could put in 100 reps and master that, it's considered to be the best Space Marine list. As in, like, this is if you could get absolute mastery of it, because the playbook is endless. You can just do everything all the time, every turn. There's 100 decisions. But the Ironstorm and the Gladius are the two that people are looking at as the everyman, all comers, never going to be a bad thing. And the Black Templars are getting a lot of attention because they have, I guess, apart from the Vanguard, they are good at all the detachments apart from the Vanguard. As in, you can make a good Templars list for just about every single other detachment. And so it's offering people the biggest spread of play, I guess, within the Codex right now as it sits. Should Sword Brethren get nerfed? We'll see. We'll see what happens. We have no full knowledge as well. But that's my fear. My fear is, oh no.
Well, this is the time when everyone starts thinking about that kind of stuff. But I don't want to speculate on anything. We got to report what is.
What is
Spot on. And what is the top players in attendance? We've got Dan Salmons, who is taking Leagues of Votan. He's got his Oathband detachment. He's got the Iron Here Champ, 2 Grimnirs, one with Appraising Glare, one with Wayfarer's Grace, and a Carl. He's got 10 Hearthkin Warriors, the full complement of 6 Sagittars, no punches being pulled here, 2x3 Thunderkin, 2x5 Berserkers, and a unit of 10, a unit of 5 Hearthguard, and 2x3 Pioneers. Nice little tidy package. This list is fantastic. 6 Sagittars. I don't care what you're putting in it. That list is already very good.
Because they're so small. They've got so much, like flexibility.
They're so tough. They're OC3 for some reason, and they actually have good guns.
Yep. They their toughness 10 with is it 9 wounds? With good gun. So
T9 with 9 wounds, I think. T9 with
I thought it was T10. I was pretty sure they were T10, and that's one of the big selling points.
I know they're 9 wounds.
I'll race you. Yeah, I know they're 9 wounds as well. They're under the 10. That's the thing. Like, but they're only 9 wounds. Yeah, but they're toughness 10. Like, they're toughness 10. It's really, really frustrating. The small units of Thunderkin, I believe, once again, is a Rhino concession. You just want small units that Sagittar, 1 Sagittar plus 3 Thunderkin usually kill a Rhino. And that is just that's metrics they're working upon. Like, this is some reliability for killing the Rhino. Yeah, toughness 10, a 3-up save, 9 wounds, 3 OC, Moose 12, so pretty speedy for this little guy. And the Scout 6 is I can't overstate how good the Scout 6 is. Going first with 6 Sagittars and every middle objective, or 2 out of the 3 mid-board objectives, just have Sagittars essentially on them automatically, and you're like,
well, you can also advance and still get out and
get out,
which means you could just block people with Hearthguard.
Correct.
It's
correct.
It's good.
It's a beautiful combination.
Annoying.
It's really, really good. Really good. And of course, the Sagittar Thunderkin thing, as soon as you start the game with all your Rhinos have double oath counters on them, you just blow them up at your convenience. So extremely good list here, gents. What's good counterplay into this list? Because this list just seems like it's good all the time. What does this not love to play against?
Other MSU.
Yep.
Yeah, is this one where the World Eaters shine as well?
It's funny because my teammates have actually been practicing that matchup. My Vote 10 player and World Eater player, I've been playing that quite a bit to see what it feels like. But if Vote 10 play it right, they can actually take advantage of that game pretty handily. But they need to play it right. It needs they need to play it carefully, because if they make a mistake in terms of where they place something and when they get guys out, World Leaders will mulch them.
That's kind of what I was thinking about. Is if you play your normal playbook, your routine, what works for 9 times out of 10, you just get munched.
Yeah. Exactly.
How does this go into hordes? How does it deal with an endless swarm? Which just I'm not going to kill any of your Sagittars. I don't care. I'm just going to put way more OC than you can handle on objectives.
It blocks them.
Yeah.
That's how it wins that.
Yep. And so it just roadblocks them. So it goes first, just gets in the way.
If it goes first, any kind of swarm like that, if you don't fly, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, so you gotta have gargoyles, otherwise, you're not going to get out of your deployment.
But that said, the Hearthguard are very good at killing the hordes. Assuming they take the grenade launch, which
why wouldn't you?
I would think you do that.
Yeah. The other one would be a Cursed Cultist, but I feel like this kills Cursed Cultist relatively easy because, of course, you just start all your counters on them, and then every gun just kind of wins them on 2s.
Hearthguard shred them.
Yeah.
And actually, the Berserkers, if you take the axes, are pretty good at them too. But most people take the concussion balls, I think.
All right, on to our second top list in attendance. This is Corey Schultz. He's playing Necrons, and this is the Hypercrypt Legion. And this is an interesting take on the Hypercrypt Legion. With the changes to Necrons, I thought it was important that I throw out a non-canoptic list for people to absorb and get their head around. So this has got only a single character. So straight up, we get to not spend 900 points on characters. Hallelujah. Hexmark Destroyer with Dimensional Overseer, 2 Annihilation Barges, 2 flyers in the form of Doom Scythes, 2x5 Flayed Ones, 2 single regular Locust Destroyers, the Monolith, what a chat, 2 Tesseract Arcs, 3x3 Tomb Blades, and a Triarch Stalker. So this thing is very, very vehicle heavy. And what is important about it is that they all redeploy every turn. They all get picked up every turn. They all get moved around every turn. So trying to close and keep these things or keep these things from just popping in and out of firing lanes is actually a big pain.
Seeing a Monolith and 2 Tesseract Arcs, I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah. Yep. So which Dimensional Overseer is the one where you get an additional thing into reserve. So 4 units from this army are going to be going up and going down every single turn. So like, I mean, this is I feel like this is kind of a nightmare for World Eaters, because you try like, okay, cool, I'm going to go pressure him. Oh, they're gone. Cool. All right, they're over there now. I'm gonna go get them. Let's get into combat. And they're gone.
As playing a lot of assault armies, that is very frustrating. You know, it's like when because it double dips. Like you're getting pulled in different directions because of your flip card, your cards you're flipping, and you're getting pulled in different directions because of your opponent moving around. And so you feel like, how do I even grab a hold of this game? You know,
Yeah.
that's
So,
kind of how you feel in a list like that. So maybe you're right. Maybe a list like that, you know, is going to be stronger soon.
and it's still got a bunch of little nonsense. Well, sorry, not nonsense. Still got a bunch of utility units: 3 into 5 flayed ones, 2 single destroyers, 3 into 3 tomb blades to go and play the mission, go and do all your actions and go and get all your objectives and stuff. It's actually pretty cool that you still get these like 7 little units to go and do all your stuff, while you have 2 planes, essentially 5 tanks, and 1 pseudo super heavy in the monolith. I'm still not sold on the monolith. I know a lot of people absolutely love it. I just think from a logistical point of view, it's such a headache to deploy. And
you're talking about movement and deployment, and like beyond it being in the game, like can you even land it in the middle of the table in a lot of tournaments?
Correct. Is it the largest footprint model that we have outside of a super heavy? It is, right? Outside of an Imperial Knight, there's nothing that even comes close.
Is another Necron model is giant. Is it bigger than a Baneblade? I don't know that it's bigger than a Baneblade.
Yeah, non-super heavy. I was talking about long.
I'm sorry.
Non-Titan. It is, right? Sorry, Baneblade is probably the only one that you could see in a game that maybe has a bigger footprint, right?
Well, that's a super heavy though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a super heavy.
Yeah, so the monolith is definitely. Yeah, I can't think of one. That's not.
It's a big boy.
The
big one.
The Heradules actually are not super heavies anymore, but I'm pretty sure they're smaller.
Yeah, look,
those Soul Grinders.
Yeah, Soul Grinder would be up there. Soul Grinder might be the same. So KR Queen has just pointed out this is possibly a gatekeeper list, and look, it very well might be, but just chucking out some list ideas for you is that 818 rates is essentially what the point is here. Corey's going to do extremely well with this list, because people are just going to be like, oh, it's 18, it's not 18 rates, it must be bad, and then they get blown up. So that's could happen to anybody versus this list, because you think you're safe, and then they all come off the table, they'll come back on the table, and all of a sudden they can all see you. So you're going to have to be very cognizant of where you are on the table. But this is a very big footprint army, huge footprint army. The Doom Scythes, flyers, they can be corralled, they can be controlled. The Annihilation Barges are quite small, they're quite nifty, but the rest, the Tesseract Arcs are quite big, the Thorax Stalker is quite big, and of course it's Doom Scythes. It doesn't have the big guys. I was working up to talking about the DDAs, the Doomsday Arcs. He doesn't have those. They're the Doom Scythes. Apologies. I see the D words.
Next week.
Next week. Sorry about it. Because they're bad. I was about to say because they're bad, but he hasn't taken the bad ones.
Not next week.
He's taking the good ones. He's taking the goods. I don't even know what Tesseract Arcs do now. I haven't looked at them. They any good, boys? I'm gonna quickly.
I forgot they were a thing. If I'm being honest,
as my puppy. Because legit.
While you were looking that up, this is the time where we predict some winners of this one, and this is going to be tricky because. I mean, I guess the wide variance of lists here.
Yeah, there are actually a good variety. And it's still a little odd too. Necron's topping it off is like I don't know how Necrons fare in the meta yet.
Look, I'm gonna break convention and I'm gonna say Eldari.
You can break convention, eh? Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
So
no one's picked Eldari in a while.
It's true. We haven't.
People have almost forgotten that like Wraith Guards still shoot when you shoot them. You know, it's like
how many points is the Sagittar, boys?
100.
100 points. Okay, so Tesseract Arc is 30 points more. It's at 130. I'm only reading that out because it's virtually the same stat line. It's got 1 less toughness, but 1 more wound.
You know, yeah.
I'm joking. Yeah. I'm joking. No, it's not the same thing. It does have a 4-up invulnerable save, which is very
good. That is different.
Very good. Its main gun has, of course, the 2 profiles. It's range 36 D3 blast, strength 9 -3 D6 +1. It's pretty good for
130 points.
And then it's got a flamer at strength 6 -1 2 damage. 2 damage flamers are pretty hard to come by these days, outside of stuff that's on Imperial Knights and things of that caliber. But D6 plus 3 shots on that flamer. It's actually
For
quite respectable with
130
Ignores
points,
cover.
that's incredible.
Yeah, 130 points. It seems legit. Seems not bad. You might be onto something.
Breaking that meta, defining.
Wow.
So have you stalled long enough
sorry.
to pick your winner?
No. Last thing I need to tell you, it's -2 to charge.
Oh,
There's kicker. There's the kicker.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going first on this one.
I picked Eldari.
Paul already
I
went.
picked Eldari. Oh, I've even forgotten what the podium was here. I'll go the Votan. Let's go.
You're going the Votan? Okay, you know what then? I'm gonna go Necrons. Let's go.
Necrons.
Numbers
Let's
never
do it.
lie.
Right. Look, see how we did. You have to tune into our part 2 that's available to Patreon subscribers of that tier and higher. Now we have a segment that is basically a palate cleanser. We call this segment the Fuego Rapido, where we give ourselves a series of topics that sometimes have nothing to do with anything. Warhammer is now a distant memory as we cleanse our palates and ease into hopefully the rest of your weekend or a pleasant time, whatever you're doing next, where we give ourselves that 2 minutes to talk about whatever topic comes up on the screen. At the end of that 2 minutes, we abandon it, never to talk about it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's this theme.
Collected. We actually bring up the Men in Black, memory deleter, and we delete the Fuego from ourselves and each other. So therefore, it can never be spoken about again.
Only to be resurrected by Patreon subscribers.
Only patrons can do it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So today's theme is Have you ever and why?
Okay.
We're gonna see what that is.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh
no. First one. Cheated on an exam in school.
Absolutely.
I'm positive that I looked up at someone else's test and be like, that's not what I answered, but they're probably doing better than me.
For what courses? Like what are you cheating on? Think about this.
Does there have to be just one?
No, it can be many if it is.
So I actually don't actively remember like an instance of it being done, but I know it had been done. Like looking over and looking at somebody else's work, and I don't probably in math,
Do they like not have? Because whenever I had an exam, like we were desks upon desks apart from each other. Like there was no way to like just look at somebody else. So if
well,
you were
I
cheating,
went to
you were
public
bringing,
school, and so we had a lot of us in one
notes.
room. All right.
Yeah. A bunch is the answer to by Adam.
Yes, I have. I graduated.
Most of them. You two extremely well learned gentlemen both probably passed high school.
Yep.
I have an advanced degree.
Yeah, I did not. I did not pass high school. I did not complete high school.
You were cheating off the wrong people, Adam.
Obviously, I was about to say obviously, or it was just known that I was cheating and it didn't matter. I would regularly go into exams that were multiple choice and just not even look at the questions and just circle random stuff and leave. Yeah. That's
look.
Yeah. What about you, Dustin?
I cannot actually remember a time where I actively did it.
Pathetic.
Sorry, I'm actually trying. I cannot remember a time I actually
Not a risk taker.
No, I was. My parents are like my entire family. It consists of cops and teachers. So, yeah, I didn't. No, I don't think I did that.
Rough. All right, next one.
Next up, faked a call to get out of a conversation.
Yes.
Has to have happened, yeah.
Yes.
For work, personal, like, I don't even know how that's done a lot of the time. Like, because I guess it's a lot easier now with cell phones. You can just kind of like, you just press a button so it makes your ringtone go off. So, oh, sorry, man, I'm getting the phone call. I'll yeah, bye. See you later.
No, I remember having someone go page you,
or the what's that called? I can't remember. I can't remember what it's called. There's actually a term for it. Like if you go on like a blind date or something. And you have somebody make sure that they call you just at a specific time to make sure that you have an out if you aren't enjoying yourself.
Yeah, and so you just send like the SOS message, and then they call you and like, oh my god, my catfish is
Oh no!
evolving into dogfish. I don't know, and you leave.
So
positive I've looked at it, it's like, oh, got something coming in. Let me
Yeah.
But have you set it up, or is it kind of like taking advantage of it if it happens?
I have a great story for this one.
Oh, okay.
I have a fantastic story. So I was between jobs, and I was a bit of a shit kicker at this time in my life. Sorry for swearing. I shouldn't have said that, actually. I was not doing so well at this time in my life. And I had just been offered a industrial plumbing apprenticeship with a pretty decent organization. But I went to my first job. This is literally the first day of the first job. And up until this point, I'd spent like the last couple of months just literally playing Dota and World of Warcraft all day and all night. And so now I'm digging a massive hole in the sun down to a broken pipe that is full of feces that needs.
I was about to say actual poop management here.
Yes. And so I spent literally 2 hours just digging a hole straight down to unclog this pipe, and then the pipe got and then so we needed to unclog the pipe, and so someone had to stand in the hole and unclog the pipe, and then jump out before it filled up with said refuse. And I looked at the dude who was my boss, and he's like, "Well, you're the apprentice, you're doing it." And then I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go to the bathroom first. Went to the bathroom, walked out with my phone being like, oh, yeah, cool. I'll start tomorrow. I was like, sorry, mate, just got off another job. And I literally just walked off. Yeah. Sorry, mate, just got off another job. Oh, yeah, it's sick. Oh, yeah, I'll start tomorrow. Yeah, cool. Oh, sorry, mate, I just got offered another job. I'll see you later. And I just literally walked.
Okay.
You could have just left.
You could have just left at that point. Like, yeah, why
you didn't even have to do that story.
Yeah.
I know.
Like, you're the apprentice. You go down and nah.
Yeah.
It was a very good job, by the way. It was actually a very good and would have become a very lucrative
you learn how to be a plumber,
job.
and you'll never not work a day in your life.
Yeah.
It's like,
but at the time I was like I was pretty young. I think I was 17. I was like, I would rather be doing the exact nothing I was doing before than this.
Oh, you don't think about that back then.
Yeah,
oh, we're out of time. But yeah, you never think about the future when you're 17.
That plumber is still waiting.
Still waiting.
I'm sure he's like, I wonder if he got another job.
I wonder if he actually did get another job.
I hope he's thriving.
He's actually a Warhammer fan. He's listening to this right now. He's like, that son of a
oh, he got me.
He got me. All right.
Damn.
Next one. Wave to someone without realizing they're waving to somebody else.
Oh yeah.
I do that
all the time. All the time.
I don't know
if
it's just like you think people are waving at you because you just why wouldn't they be waving at you? Like, I have no idea who these people are. They wave in my general direction, say, hey, what's up? I don't want to be rude, because if they're not waving at me and I don't wave back, or if they are waving at me and I don't wave back, then I'm just a jerk,
Yeah. And I'm not one of those people that's like when they check, the cashier says drive safe, and I'm not one of those U2 people, but I'm definitely like, one of those where someone may be, give a nod or heads up to somebody or whatever, and I don't know if it's me or not. I'm like, well, exactly. He's like, don't want to be rude. You just gotta fall on the sword. It's like a live grenade. Like, I guess.
Went for a jog with my earphones in the other day, and by that day I mean probably like 2 weeks ago, probably just before Christmas. And a lady was in her front yard watering, and I was jogging past, and she's like, "Oh, hi, wave!" Like, looked like she was really happy to see me. And so I stopped jogging, took one of my earpieces out, looked behind me, and her husband and kids are getting out of the car. I couldn't hear arriving on the sidewalk. I'm like, ah, shit! I just kept running.
Well, yeah. What do you do when you actually do those waves and then you realize they're not waving at you? Do you just kind of pretend it didn't happen? Do you acknowledge it?
Yeah, just move on with your life. I was never here. You never met me. Moving
do a little dance.
Do a little dance.
Yeah.
Or you pretend you're actually like waving. No, I'm actually reaching for this thing on the shelf over here. That's actually what I'm going for. Like a stretch. Oh, yeah.
Question. How do you feel afterwards? Can you how often do you think about it after the fact?
So often.
I live such a cringe and embarrassing day-to-day life. It doesn't touch the sides. It's fine.
Really? I think about it all the time. Like the rest of the day, probably the next few days, I'm thinking I was such an idiot. Like, why?
Full on ruin the week.
Full on ruin the week.
Love it. Fuego.
Right. Next up. Met a famous person or celebrity non-40K.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah, non-40K. Stan Lee.
Really?
Nice.
Oh, you go to Comic-Cons and stuff, so that's not too surprising then.
Yeah, and the privilege, is one of the a great moment. You know, I
Mhm.
said, Stan, you're my hero, and he said, as it should be. Like,
That's
yes.
the right
Yeah,
response.
that is the right response.
That is the correct response. That's the most baller response. That's awesome.
Adam,
Um,
who is it that you actually met?
Mostly famous footballers in Australia that you wouldn't have heard of, but every time I've done it, I'm like, they're either way bigger than I thought or way smaller than I thought. There's no one have been like, oh, you're exactly as I thought you'd be. No, they're either like, wow, you're actually a midget, or holy crap, you're an Adonis. Has been exactly every single interaction I've had with them.
That makes sense.
And
Yeah.
most of them is just at social events or fundraisers or whatnot, or yeah.
It's actually crazy meeting some of them and hoping that, like, if it's somebody you like, you really hope they're a nice person. Because if they're not, it just like ruins your entire opinion of them for every movie
Yeah.
or any sport or whatever they're doing. It just I hate you now because you're just a jerk. But I actually met quite a few of them because I did during high school. I was an extra in a lot of movies because I had an agent. Like that was my weekend job. It was incredible. So I met people like I met Hugh Jackman, Jackie Chan,
Hugh Jackman
Hugh Jackman.
figuring out a way to get his abs in every movie.
He's a super nice guy. Jeff Daniels.
I'm a sincere fan and love it.
Like, it's literally every Australian actor, like all the Hemsworths, all of them. They just at some point,
same thing. Yeah,
they got to get the abs on screen.
God, Jeff Daniels is one that I actually had I actually talked to for a while on set, that was great. But the problem was he was playing George Washington in the like an A&E special called The Crossing, and this was after I've like watched Dumb and Dumber, so like I couldn't take him seriously. It was
fantastic.
But he was
that's awesome. I'd love to hear more about if we have more time. And like at conventions, it's like I don't want to say that I've met them like I've run into them in the street. I've met them at places where they were having a public appearance type thing, and some of them, and then some of them have been like really great to talk to, which is
absolutely,
which is cool.
Sylvester Stallone was actually a really good guy to talk to as well.
Met his brother.
Who was saying?
Do you have a funny story about his brother? Oh, we're out of time.
We have another Fuego another time, another Fuego another time. Gotten lost in an amusement park or on vacation. I
almost at a fair one time. Almost at a fair.
Okay.
Yeah, fair. Like
as
like
an adult
a state
or a
fair.
kid?
As a kid, no, as a kid. Like I remember looking up, and I was an uncomfortable distance away from my mother, and like didn't know if I could ever get back to her again. Like,
oh wow.
I mean, but I'm also 3 feet tall, so that could have been 75 feet. Like it was, but there was a people and distance in between where I just kept walking, and then she had stopped whoever she was with or whatever, and I was looking back and like, well, I guess I'm gone now.
Yeah. That's the end of me.
One of my favorite things to do when I go to a city I've never been before is to kind of get semi-lost on purpose. I usually do a bit of research on like the places not to get lost, as in like you will stay lost. But a lot of the times, I when I arrive in a city, I'm extremely jet lagged, and so in the middle of the night, being unable to sleep is just a regularity. So I'll just put on some like my worst looking clothes, not take any valuables, and just pick a direction that doesn't look too dodgy, and just go check it out. Just go suss it out in the middle of the night. It's actually really, really cool, really rewarding, because you get to see a lot more of a place, and a lot of the times you're seeing things that you really just would not see if you were going from like touristy bit to touristy bit, or the bits that places want you to see. But it's not the safest thing to do, and I do wield like the privilege of being like 6'1" and like a white guy in that role, so definitely.
I had a reputation at my job for when we go on like business trips that I just get lost. People don't know where I am for most of the night, or they wonder where I am the next morning. There's one time that the group wanted to go to a Chinese restaurant after we went to a bar, and they're like, oh, I'll get the tab and I'll meet you guys over there. Long story short, I walked into a lady's house that was not the Chinese restaurant. She was not happy to see me.
Way to go. Me and my brothers used to constantly dare each other. Like we'd see a convertible like pull up beside us, and me and my brothers, I got 3 brothers, we'd constantly dare each other to just get into his car. Just get out of this car and just get into his car. Just see what happens. Just see.
just to see. What are they going to do? You know,
Oh,
Probably
my
get punched,
goodness.
probably get punched in the mouth. But
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah. That is our
Yeah.
show this week, and it's been a fun one. We got, nice to see the events cranking back up again. As everything culminates to one of the largest events in the land, might be the largest Warhammer
Mm,
40,000 tournament that for the next several months at least.
Mhm.
We'll see what this year holds with the Las Vegas Open. We're going to be crescendoing toward that ourselves as well. Looking forward to bringing you that coverage. And then good luck to all the players playing in tournaments this weekend. If you'd like to have your event featured on here, there's lots of ways to do it. Hit us up on social media. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. Leave some comments on our YouTube page. Hit us up all individually. Whatever you need to make sure the signal's out about your event. We want to help spread that. And if the stars align, you may see the name up in lights in here as well.
yeah, absolutely. Great
Please,
show,
yeah,
gents.
please like, share, subscribe, hit those 5-star reviews, hit the bells, do all the stuff. Look, you
Do
know
all the
what the
stuff.
stuff is we need.
stuff.
Please, please, please do it because that's what we need.
And we love you for it. Thanks for tuning in,
And we do
guys.
love you for it.
And we will see
We
you
should.
next week.
See y'all next week, everybody. Good night.
Next week.
Boy.